Hey mamas, you're listening to the Balanced Working Mama podcast, the only podcast teaching you how to balance your work, motherhood, and wellness. I am Dr. Amber Thornton, clinical psychologist and mama wellness consultant. Each week we dive into tips and strategies and much more so that you too can become a balanced working mama. Let's dive in.
Hey mamas. I have a cold and I hope y'all can hear me, but my voice is not what it typically is. So if you're listening for the very first time, just know I sound a little different today because I've had some congestion, I've had a cough. Luckily, I tested negative for COVID, which is great, but this is honestly my first cold in years, and I attribute that to during the pandemic, I was, mostly in the house with me and my kid and my other kid. Since I've had another kid and my husband, I was working from home for most of that time, and we were wearing masks. So that really did stop the spread of so many germs. But I think, now that things are a little bit looser, we have definitely been taking advantage of just being out in public a little bit more. And somewhere along the way, I picked up a bug. I picked up some germs, and I have been sick all week. So with that being said, I am getting better. But yeah, y'all know how it is. Either way, this is the Balanced Working Mama podcast. I'm Dr. Amber. If you're listening for the very first time, hello and welcome. And I hope that y'all have been enjoying these episodes recently. We have been getting a few more listeners, which is really exciting. And it's just making me think that there's something we're doing right. There's something good happening because our episodes are getting into the hands of more mamas. And I'm just glad that y'all are here. And, I think you listening to this is also you indicating that you want more balance in your life as a mom. You want more wellness in your life as a mom. And this is the first step. And I'm so glad you're here and listening to us. My hope is that one day you will join our Balanced Working Mama community, which we have about 70 members a part of currently. My hope is that you will join us on all the other things we do in the future, which I can't really talk about right now, but eventually, we will talk more about those things. Either way, Balanced Working Mama is definitely the place to be right now because it is full of millennial mamas who just truly are claiming and, really committing to this new lifestyle that includes more balance and wellness for them. And it means that they are more in the center of their lives, and they have more say and more choice of what goes on in their lives. Their wants and needs and desires matter so much more now. And so that's what our community is made of. Mamas who want that and who are working hard to get it, but all the while knowing that it's hard because it's not something that we have seen before. So we're doing it together through this podcast, through our community, through a lot of other ways too. Either way, let me stop talking, y'all. Whew. So we have a special guest on the episode for today. I previously recorded this episode, so in the episode I will sound normal. But I really wanted to bring this guest on to talk about something super practical, but also something that I know many of you all go through, which is sleep challenges with your little ones. And so, I think of course, it's really common to have young children who have difficulty sleeping, especially if you have newborns or infants or hell, even toddlers. Learning how to sleep is a skill. And the issue is, though, that sometimes we don't even know the proper ways to teach our children how to sleep, and we may need help with that. I think that it's just become very normalized. Like, hey, if you have little ones, you're never going to sleep again. But my guest today has helped me realize, and something I'm hoping you'll learn from this too, is that doesn't actually have to be the case. There is help for that. And so our guest today is actually a sleep consultant, and she helps moms to help their children to have better sleep so that they also can have better sleep. So if you are a mama who is struggling because you have not slept in years, or because you have a newborn who is not sleeping well, or because you have a toddler who still hasn't gotten it together with regard to taking a nap or getting to bed on time, if there is just any type of sleep issue with your kid in your house that's interrupting your sleep, this is the episode for you. And my hope is that you'll feel encouraged to seek out some help from a sleep consultant like my guest today. Okay, y'all. Listen to this episode. Let me know what you think, and let's get into it.
Hey, mamas. So we have a very special guest today. I'm very excited about this topic. We're going to be talking about sleep, particularly sleep concerns related to your babies, but then also if our babies are not sleeping, then we are not sleeping. And so I'm super excited for this because I know so many of us need more rest, and we might need support for how to get our children, whether they're babies, toddlers, infants, to sleep better so that we can have more rest as well. So my guest is going to be talking all about that today, and I'm going to have her introduce herself. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I am Princess, also known as the multiple mom on social media. I am a sleep consultant and a family wellness educator.
Thank you so much. And so I'm super excited for this. And so if anyone knows, or if anyone follows Princess on Instagram, y'all know that she has children. She just has babies. So she knows, I'm assuming you know all about the challenges that might come with children and sleep. And it's, again, I'm excited for us to really talk about this. And so I really am very curious to hear, how did this journey even begin for you, becoming a sleep consultant?
Well, it started with, you know what, ever since I was a teen, I always had, I felt like I had some type of gift where I really connected with babies. See, my mom was the lady on the block that kept everybody kids. So I was always around babies, always around kids, play cousins, real cousins, just everybody on the block felt free and comfortable to leave their kids with my mom. And, don't get it twisted. My mom's like, oh, no, I'm keeping them. You're not keeping them, because we don't play that. You know how they always try to get the oldest daughter to take care of everybody's kids. But no, I really wanted to help her with these kids. So it came to a point where, someone couldn't get the baby down and get them to sleep. They're like, send them to Princess. She'll put them down, get them down. So when I had my own kids, I had already had all these preconceived notions, because I heard about how it's hard for babies to sleep and babies do not sleep, which is true. And then when I had mine, and I felt that, to me, for me personally, that is the most sacred time that I connect with my babies. It's bedtime and putting them to sleep. So I really enjoyed the process of that. It's not always easy. I am currently now dealing with my 10 months old having a little bit of sleep regression. But for the most part, it's such a beautiful time to connect. And once I really understood that I was passionate about it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to school for this. I'm going to get a formal education for this, because I feel like this is something not just moms need to know, but the whole community, because sleep is so vital to our well-being and so vital to the health. And I felt like it was something that we need to be educated on, because all we ever heard was, oh, you need to go to bed at this time, you need to go, and nothing else. And it's a whole science to sleep. So yeah, that's why I got into it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love it. I love that it's something that you were passionate about from when you were a child. I also love how you said that bedtime or sleep time is such a sacred time, because I think for so many of us, that time can be a very anxiety producing time, especially if we already have been dealing with sleep challenges with our child or our children. When bedtime comes around, it can feel like, now we have to struggle through, like, are they going to sleep tonight? Am I going to sleep tonight? Like, going through the routine. And I think sometimes some mamas struggle with the bedtime routine. Maybe it's just not working well, or it's not a good fit, or maybe it feels long. So, I love that, we can think about bedtime or sleep being a way to really connect and, you know, really holding that a sacred time. And so this is why I'm so excited about this, because I want that for more of us. And I do agree. I think we really need to talk about sleep more. And I also love that you said there's a science to it. And I think that's the hard part. You know, it's true. You know, when you have a new baby, especially, sometimes sleep will be a challenge. And there is a science to it that I think some of us just don't know. And, you know, rightfully so, because, you know, maybe we didn't go to school for this, or we don't have the education. But I want to ask you, you know, tell us more about your role as a sleep consultant and how that helps a family.
Oh, my role as a sleep consultant is, one thing I like to focus on is sleep hygiene, and your daytime schedule and routine plays a whole lot into how you sleep and output, and how your children will behave at bedtime, depending on what they do throughout the day. So I try to focus on that. Pre-sleep time, you know, I try to focus on the bedtime plan and the routine. What does your routine look like? Are you just there on your tablets, and then you're just abruptly taking your tablets and going, okay, it's time for the bed? That's not going to work. That's not healthy. Are you actually planning and being intentional about it? Are we having dinner, and then after dinner, see, in my house, it's a whole process, it's a whole schedule. After dinner time, we know it's time to start winding down, time to start, okay, we're lowering our voices, inside voices, none of that running around. We're getting calm, and we're preparing our minds and our bodies for sleep. And I think a lot of what I do is try to just help parents get into that mindset of, you know, trying to regulate, you know, get everybody to regulate together. A lot of co-regulation. And once you do a lot of co-regulation, it's easier for a toddler or infant to try to self-soothe a bit. So that's what my main focus is, teaching not just the children, but the parent how to regulate. Because like you said before, during bedtime is the most trying time for a lot of us, and it brings a lot of anxieties because you're overwhelmed. Because at this point, you've already had a long day, whether you've been with the kids all day or you went to work, and you just want to, okay, y'all, it's time to get into bed. Mommy needs to rest. Daddy needs to rest. Whoever needs to rest. And I think it's crucial for us to understand that this is the time when we, as the caregiver, need to take a breather and woosah. And that's more so what I like to focus on, because a lot of sleep is developmental. You can't sleep train no more than you can teach a baby how to walk or how to eat. So I try to focus on sleep hygienes and those practices around, you know, bedtime and sleep.
Yeah, that's so key. And again, I think it's things that we don't really think as often about, like when people are having trouble with getting their kids to sleep. I think maybe they're thinking about, you know, what more can they do at nighttime or like right at bedtime, but we're not really thinking about like, okay, well, what has happened throughout the course of the day as we're leading up to bedtime, because that's just as important. Wow. Okay. So that's important. That makes a lot of sense. And it's making me think about like the course of our evening. We definitely have a rhythm to it. And I can see how it kind of like naturally leads up to bedtime, and it's very predictable. You know, we have that wind down time. There's a lot of like boundaries when it comes to like, this is where we sleep. This is what happens in the bedroom. You know, we keep it dark, things like that. And so I'm sure that helps too. So for mamas who are listening to this and who are there, maybe they can identify with this, but maybe they might be hesitant to reach out to a sleep consultant. You know, I'm just curious from your experience, what makes mamas so hesitant to actually like take the next step and work with a sleep consultant?
Well, I say because one of the main reasons is it's very costly. To a lot of, like, if you go and Google right now, sleep specialist or sleep consultant, and some of those packages can range up in the thousands. And I can get why someone would draw back, especially during a pandemic, especially in this economy. We're all holding on to every penny, you know, we're trying to make every penny stretch. But there are people like me who work with a specific group of people. I work with the marginalized community. So I have payment options. I have payment plans. I have sponsorships. I even offer 15-minute free consultations to new moms. And what I like to tell them, you can't cover a lot in 15 minutes, but pick that one question, pick that one concern that you're very concerned about, and we'll just focus on that. And anything else you can probably find out on my Instagram, or I'll talk about it on Twitter, or, I'm never going to turn anybody away. So I feel like you have to find someone, because it is expensive, but there are some people that's willing to work with you because they're very passionate about, getting a family to having good sleep and quality sleep. So I think that's the number one thing. People are hesitant because of the price point. One of the other things is more traditional sleep consultancy, kind of like, they kind of focus on sleep training, and sleep training do a lot of cry it out. And cry it out is not good in long terms in terms of emotional intelligence. You create a negative sleep association if you're teaching a baby essentially to just, cry yourself to sleep, or teaching a toddler to cry yourself to sleep. So when you look up a sleep specialist or sleep training, that's like the first thing you see is those type of, let the baby cry for 5 minutes and then just walk away and see what it do, then come back. And it's like, we don't have time to play those games. We don't have time to play those games. If your baby crying, pick your baby up and respond to your baby. And I think that's what I teach people. I want to do it in a realistic way and show people that it's okay. You should be a responsive parent. It's not okay, in my opinion, to leave a baby crying to sleep. So I think there's a lot of confused messages and theories around how, sleep training should be done, and even what sleep training is. So I think that's what makes a lot of people hesitant.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And how would someone know if, they should be reaching out to a sleep consultant? Like, what are the things that might be happening in their home or with their child or their children that might suggest that they could benefit from working with someone like you or another sleep consultant?
If you have a child that is beyond, I'll say, 6 months, an infant that's beyond 6 months, and this child is waking up consistently or constantly through the night, you may need to speak to someone that can help you. Or also, if you have like some toddlers, I know one of my kids used to do this. You send them to bed and they'll wake up like, I'm hungry. And it's like, no, you're not hungry. You just don't want to go to sleep. So, whether it's a baby or toddler or even a school age kid that's constantly waking up, or you'll notice around bedtime, they're very cranky, or on the flip side, they're very playful. Those situations, and while it can be cute sometimes, it's like, no, you need to go to sleep. Mommy needs to go to sleep. So I think it's any type of small or even more big setbacks or any type of disturbances, I think you should reach out to someone that can help you understand how to get through the different phases of sleep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I literally have like 2 moms in mind, friends of mine, who struggled with literally those same things that you just mentioned. I have one friend who has a child who is well over 6 months, and continues to wake up consistently in the middle of the night. And I think, she has kind of just accepted that this is just my life with my child and this is how it's going to be. But, I'm hoping, that, her and other people who are in similar situations are hearing this and can, hear that,
Right.
This is not something that you just have to live with. There is help, there is support. I also had another friend whose child woke up in the middle of the night wanting milk, well into their like second and third year. It was literally years for her before she got sleep, and luckily he grew out of it. But I always struggled with like helping her see that, I don't know if he's truly hungry, and like you're kind of saying, like maybe it was more of like a behavioral thing of like,
Right.
It might be some avoidance of not wanting to sleep. And I guess that's something that's hard. And, this is actually just a question that's coming to me. And so I don't know if you have an answer to this, but is there a way for us to know when something is more behavioral versus like, I don't know the other word for it, like biological or something when it comes to sleeping? You know what I mean?
developmental process, natural developmental order, behavioral.
Exactly.
Well, one of the things I like to look at, you can always tell by a child's emotional state, right? Because a lot of times behavioral um, things happen when they don't know how to let out or express those big feelings, those big emotions. So if you see like maybe your child, like I said, like to get all like really goofy, like to play a lot, get really silly when it's time for sleep. They'll dance, throw their bodies, they'll do different things, anything to keep from going to sleep, right? So that's what we call in our community, oh, that baby fighting sleep. They're fighting sleep, but it's not real. It kind of is fighting sleep because they can feel that, okay, I'm falling into that first phase of sleep, but I'm going to do everything I can to keep this nervous system alert, to stay up. So when you notice that your child is very active, over hyper, I'll say over hyper, or overstimulated, that's a better word. If you know that your child is overstimulated around this time, I think that's more behavioral, because there is a thing that in children can have insomnia. And most of the insomnia is behavioral in kids. They'll find a way, like I said, they'll say they're hungry, they'll want to play, or they'll have tantrums, and some kids will flip out, around bedtime. And I think those are more behavioral. More natural and developmental, it's going to be more easier. So versus a complete, full-on meltdown, the baby might cry or whine a little bit. The child might just get really sleepy and cry. But if you use your full body, it's more so, I'll say it's more so behavioral. So it's a difference. It like I said, you have to monitor their body, because behavioral plays out physically, whereas developmental is a little bit more, I'll say, emotional. And then sometimes with behavioral, it works both ways. Like I said, if a child is throwing themselves and crying and shouting and want to play and laughing and all of those things, it can be behavioral. But if a baby is just doing a little whining, or she'll wake up and like my daughter Eden, she'll put her head up and she'll look around and whine because she don't see me. And then I'll stand next to her and rub her hand. She'll lay back down and go to sleep. That's developmental. You know what I mean? Versus if she was to get up and stand up in the crib and start, shaking and trying to knock on the wood of the crib, then that would be more behavioral.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that was
it's very intricate.
Yes, I was about to say, and this is probably why those consultations with you are so key, because I could see how it's really different for everybody, but that was really, really good. And I realized we're using terms that some mamas just might not understand. So when I say behavioral, I'm saying, there are things happening, there are behaviors that the child's displaying that's trying to communicate something. But that might not have anything to do with the sleep. It's just kind of manifesting in, their sleep behaviors, right? Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so, on the flip side of that, when Princess is saying something that might be more like developmental, those are the things where, we always say it's expected that if you have a newborn, they're going to be waking up, that's normal, versus, a 3-year-old waking up in the middle of the night constantly. That might be more behavioral, and that maybe there's something else happening for the 3-year-old that's allowing this to continue to happen or be a thing. This is really good. This is good. I'm so excited we're having this dialogue, because again, I'm just really hopeful that there are some mamas who are listening who could use some more rest, and hopefully they will reach out to you about this, because I know that there are so many mamas who have questions about sleep and who are nervous about it, or who are just desperately needing more sleep. So I'm excited for this. There's just so much more that we could say, but how would one begin to work with a sleep consultant? Maybe like, if there's a mama who's feeling ready to like move forward, take that step, work with one, how might they prepare for getting ready for that? Or how do they begin that process?
Okay, so I'll tell everyone the average sleep consultant will require you to do an intake form. So you want to, if you know you want to move forward, you want to kind of take a note of your daily routine, like starting with the morning. What time do your baby or your toddler get up? When is their first meal? When are the wake windows? The wake windows is the time they're up between the time their first nap, the length of time in between, nap and being up. So you want to take a note of that. So like if your baby, let's say your baby wake up at 8 o'clock and then their first morning nap is at 10, you want to write that down. You want to write how many naps they have. If the naps are, over 30 minutes or under 30 minutes, you want to kind of just jot things down. It just takes one day to really pay attention to the baby's routine or the child's routine. And once you have that written down, it's easier for you to fill out that intake form, and it's easier for you to list your concerns, because sometimes it's just better seeing things written down on paper. It's easier to go to the paper and look at the paper for reference versus trying to explain and remember, so I'd say that's what I would say. If you really want to see a specialist, to definitely take a note. One day, just sit down and jot everything out, because you're going to need it for that first intake call.
I like that. That's really good, because I think it can kind of help mamas to get ahead of the process. Like, I think sometimes what happens is they will call for the help when they're desperately needing it. Like they made the decision because it's like, I can't go another day like this. I got to call. And then it can feel like a letdown to like, have that initial consult and then be told like, hey, okay, I need you to go get all this data. Right. About your family and all that. So mamas, listen to this. If you are considering working with a sleep consultant, be tracking this stuff beforehand, so that when you make that call and when they say, hey, I need you to track, these things, you can be like, hey, I already got it. So that was really helpful. So I know that there's going to be some mamas who are listening who would then want to work with you. How can they connect with you if they would like to work with you specifically?
Sure. They can reach out to me on my website, themultiplemom.com, or you can send me you can inbox me on Twitter or Instagram at the multiple mom on all platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
That is amazing. Is there anything else you feel like it would be helpful for mamas to know about sleep, about sleep hygiene, about you? Anything else we should know before we end today?
I just want to encourage moms to remember that it's all developmental. It takes time to hit certain milestones. I do not like when moms have, it breaks my heart when moms have mom guilt over, a lack of sleep, and they're feeling, I feel like my child should be sleeping more. I feel like is there something I'm doing wrong? 9 times out of 10, there's nothing. You can be doing everything right. The funny thing is, I have moms that come to me like, oh, I have the humidifier there, I have the sound machine, I have all this stuff that I know you're going to suggest, but it's still taking a while for my baby to adapt and adjust to sleeping in a new crib. And I do all of this stuff, but I just find that my baby sleeps better when we co-sleep, when she sleeps in a bed with me. So I just want moms to know that I feel like there's no set right way. It's all personal, and you have to customize it and make these things fit your lifestyle and your child's needs. Your child, how your child's development, how your child gets through the night, how your child gets through the day. And I think it's very important to remember that during this process, it is a process, and these babies are growing, especially during that 6 to maybe 12 month age, they're discovering their bodies. So their minds don't just shut off and say, okay, it's time to sleep. So that's why they're tossing and turning through the different phases of sleep. Oh, they're like, oh, I can move my arms now. Oh, I can roll over, or I can go to the other end of the crib. And they're going to do this in that first couple of phases of sleep. So I think it's important for us to remember that they're trying to adjust too. So it's hard for them too. So I want you to extend grace to yourself and extend grace to your kids. And you got to remember, we're a team. You and your baby, you and your child, we're a team. We're going to get through this. And no matter how long it takes, we're going to figure this sleep thing out, and we're all going to get our rest. So that's what I want them to just be encouraged during the process. I know it's hard. It is not easy when you're running on 4 hours of sleep. It's not easy. And I'm not going to sit here and act like it is. It's not easy. I'm not going to do that. I want people to understand that a lot of sleep planning can be practical. It can be something that fits your lifestyle, unique to you and your family. It doesn't have to be cookie cutter. It doesn't have to be what you see on social media, what these sleep accounts are posting, these other mommy creators. It's a wealth of information, and a lot of it is good. But sometimes it can be confusing and it can be overstimulated. So we want to just figure out what works and try to stick with it for a while. So that's what I want to let new moms know, to be encouraged during the journey.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for this conversation. I'm so excited for the mamas who, will be reaching out to you and just, considering this a little bit more. I'm excited for them. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey mama, thank you for listening to the Balanced Working Mama podcast. If you love this podcast, please be sure to rate it and share it with another mama that you know. And don't forget to follow me and Balanced Working Mama on Instagram. I'll talk to you soon.